Hello guys, welcome back to a other video. And today we are reacting to lowart. I promise you, I'm subscribed. I promise you, lowart, I'm subscribed to you on another account. No, I wasn't subscribed. Alright, we're reacting to the part 2. Get the playlist ready. Yeah. And this is him react his opinion on season 2. So, see. There's nothing wrong with OG season 2 of Ben 10. It's literally besides one episode. So
as great as we remember. Today, that's the question I'm hoping to answer by continuing my journey through Ben 10 with Season 2. If you didn't see my review of Season 1, that'll be linked down in the description. The card is in the top right corner. Without further ado, let's jump right into the review. The opening episode of Ben 10's second season is exceptionally promising. First off, we haven't simply reset the status quo. Nah, the kids are questioning elements of Grandpa's past. Ben has this newfound obsession with following in his footsteps, and Gwen's a bit offended that he never told them. But this episode doesn't just follow up on their reaction to all this plumber crap. It also dives deeper into Grandpa's mindset about why he quit and builds a conflict around that. See, when the gang runs into Grandpa's past plumbing partner Bill, things quickly get strange. Bill clearly wants Grandpa to rejoin him, but Grandpa rejects that offer quickly. The past is in the past. He has other things to do now. But after they leave, Bill calls them, saying that he needs help with some more aliens. After they deal with that though, Grandpa is super suspicious. Isn't it a weird coincidence that Bill happened to be where more aliens happened to appear and that he happened to have the right tool to deal with them? And there's something I really appreciate already. This episode is quietly building reasons for Ben to join Bill. In particular, we see that Bill drives a nice car and that he stays in a fancy hotel room. There isn't all that much attention drawn to this, but we're seeing two very different lifestyles. Grandpa in his rust bucket, and Bill living it up. It creates a compelling reason for Ben to view the plumbing life as something cool that they should absolutely go back to. But Grandpa sees the other side of it, the danger and responsibility. Being a plumber isn't fun. So it works really well when Bill's whole scheme is revealed. Sure, he wasn't horribly subtle about it, but the episode's done a good job of making him into a relatively compelling villain. He's releasing these aliens himself, capturing them, and soaking up the goodwill and rewards from others. Obviously, he's a corrupt guy, but when he says he's going to kill Grandpa and then tell Ben that his final wish was for Ben to join Bill as a plumber, that's the type of villain shenanigans I signed up for.
crazy villain if you think about it. Imagine, like, how would you even do that? Being partners with the best plumber, like Grandpa Max is the best plumber, and like you turn into this guy. How do you turn evil? Money is very powerful, I guess. I guess that's money. Do that to you, bro.
If there isn't time or reason to make a villain multifaceted, that's fine, but make them punchy and extreme. It's so much more fun that way.
Like, this guy is literally the guy to be friends with you for like 10 years and say he's your best friend. And then if he gets an offer like kill your let your friend live or kill him and you get $1,000,000. That's absolutely
In the end though, using all their combined abilities and talents, the gang defeats Bill, trapping him in the null void, and introducing.
And we don't see him until Omniverse. Oh, poor Phil. He deserved it. I actually think about it, he was stuck in there for like 6 or 7 years, dude.
That null void here is a great idea. After all, it's going to come back at the end of the season, but it doesn't feel like a nod from the writers like, hey, that's going to be important so we included it. Nah, it feels natural, like another tool in the team's arsenal. Perhaps most importantly though, we get a really sweet character moment at the end, with Grandpa apologizing for keeping all this from the kids and saying that they both would have made great plumbers. This way he's able to see their desire to plumb like the best of them for what it is, an admiration for their grandpa's work, an acknowledgement of how important it is, and a deep respect for him. All around, this feels like a promise from the show that we're going to keep building, keep developing these characters. That, though the show is still obviously going to be focused on episodic shenanigans, this world will expand and grow, and these characters will grow with it. The second episode takes a bit of a different approach though. Instead of building these characters or following up on previous ideas, this one is about pushing an episodic conflict as far as it can go. See, in this one, Ben suddenly unlocks a new alien.
Oh, I forgot to tell you guys something. Was it the final season of season 1 and the secrets episode of episode 1 season 2, they happen in the same day, I believe. So that's pretty crazy. It's crazy.
Giant planet-devouring tick arrives. He'll need to master its abilities to save the day. First things first, Cannonball is the best alien. That's just a fact.
It is the best
He's
alien.
a good balance between cute and cool. His ability results in a lot of really fun action, and just look at him. Look at his cute little face. Second, though, I don't have much to say about this one, but that's not a bad thing. It has some nice humor with this cult of sorts that follows the so-called Great One around, worshipping it because it destroyed their planets. More than that, though, I appreciate how far it goes with this idea. Yellowstone Park is just absolutely wrecked.
This is actually the. I think this might be the. I wouldn't call it Vilgax attacking. He was after the Omnitrix, but this is the first. I think this is the first time Ben saved the Earth.
By the end of this, the whole planet is going to die. Ben fights on a hoverboard. He tries to destroy the tick with every one of his aliens. It's going hard here. Plus, there's lots of nice animation and direction too, keeping things looking fresh and exciting. This is one of those ones where, even though I don't have much to say, that's not necessarily a problem. So long as the conflict moves fast enough and has enough unique stuff going on, I'm alright with some episodes like this one. However, I still prefer the third episode. In this one, Kevin reappears.
Well, here let's go back to the second episode. Well, the second episode, it was very wholesome that Cannibal was the one to defeat the tick because the tick was responsible of destroying its planet. So it was very honorable that Cannibal was the one to defeat the giant tick.
And he's imitating Ben in an attempt to ruin his life. Needless to say, this means that he's retained Ben's alien abilities. Even worse though, he's able to switch between them more or less at will. His only real problem is that he can't turn back to human for an extended period of time. Due to the simple fact that Kevin is in this episode, we're following up on past conflicts, and I'm happy to see him again. He was easily my favorite villain in season 1.
You know, you could actually tell apart. It seems like, I didn't notice this, but it seems like Kevin's aliens they have like a gray color added.
Due to the simple fact that Kevin is in this episode, we're following up on past conflicts, and I'm happy to see him again. He was easily my favorite villain in season 1, the best of the bunch by far, and he keeps that spot here. On a conceptual level, I just like that he's basically Ben but better, and that he's such an unapologetic maniac. In addition, though, we have Steel, a military leader who's trying to hunt down these aliens. At first, it seems like he might just be obsessed with taking down all aliens, but the episode takes him in a more nuanced direction. By the end, he's helping Ben fight, and he's accepted that this alien is on his side. It's a simple arc, but it takes very little time and it serves to make the episode more interesting than it would otherwise be. Additionally, I really like what they do with Kevin. After all, right now, his power is cool, but these are all basically Ben's aliens. Sure, it's fun to see how they can be used for evil, but we already know how these guys work. So it's cool that the episode has him transform into this amalgamation of all the aliens. This way he's more unique, but he still retains the idea of having Ben's abilities. In fact, he has the potential to be stronger than ever now, since he has a piece of all these powers at once. Much like episode 2, this is a fast-paced, action-packed episode,
Yes, it is.
but it
It's
also
very...
manages to have a bit more substance
There is
on the
nothing
character
wrong
side of
with this
things with
episode.
Steel.
It-
All around,
in the
a
next
real good
episode,
time.
where
Unfortunately,
Kevin is
I can't
literally...
say the same for episode 4. This is the first of a couple one episodes in the show.
Oh yeah, I
Honestly,
forgot. I thought episode 2 is Kevin. I thought... Wait, hold up. Wait, no. This is Kevin was episode 3. I thought episode 4 was the Kevin in the was it the arena.
I find it hard to care about these. Even with mostly episodic stories, I'm someone who really cares about the long-lasting implication of events, about the way these people will grow or change or the impact these episodes might have on them. So an episode that is telling me it's not going to connect to others, not really for me. And this one is particularly frustrating because it has so many moments where Ben could grow. See, this story takes place in an alternate reality where Ben remembers having the watch, but no longer has it. Instead, we're back at the beginning of the trip, and Gwen happens to find it before him. Right away, she's far better with it than Ben, which obviously upsets him. For a while now, he's been defining a lot of his self-worth through this watch. So what happens when he sees her mastering skills in a moment that took him months? Well, obviously that would suck, and he's going to have to find a way to redefine him.
You know, I say this, I'm actually reacting to the Ben 10 reboot. I am saying right now that the Ben 10 reboot, Gwen is the most likable character in that series. And it seems like she's saving the day more than Ben with the Omnitrix. It's very upsetting the show should have been Gwen 10. Like, missed opportunity there.
Himself.
I don't think I would
over
have been
the course
upset
of the
if it
episode,
was.
Ben has to fight Vilgax more like Grandpa. He learns to contribute even without the watch. And when it lands on Grandpa's wrist at the end and he cries that he'll never go hero again,
Now, I don't think the watch was actually supposed to be for Grandpa Max. We learned that in season
Grandpa
3.
sums up the episode's message well.
You just did, as Ben.
That was the lesson for him to learn here, and I actually quite like how the show went about it. So having this reset at the end with Ben not retaining any of it, it sucks. In this way, I think I would have preferred if this episode was more like the one with the giant tick, something that isn't very character focused but just goes wild with an out there premise. As it stands, I wish they'd found some way to integrate this into the main story. Fortunately, the next episode isn't a what if though. In fact, we jump right into the action with
Bro.
Ben. However, they're quickly beamed into space and placed in an intergalactic gladiator tournament. So now Ben needs to find a way back home. This episode really brings out
Bro, this episode's like a movie, bro. This episode's crazy.
best in Ben.
I thought it was a
Actually,
movie
this
when I
is
was a
probably
kid.
the most likable he's ever been. Because when he's forced to fight alongside Kevin, he has to rise to the occasion and be responsible. He's strategic, tells Kevin how to better use his powers, and forces him to pull back when he's about to kill. Actually, there's something else great about this. Now that Ben has been forced to teach him, Kevin is more powerful than ever, and he's going to use those powers to destroy Ben if he gets the chance. So the stakes are rising. Additionally, this episode has one character with a similar role to steal, as a guy who's going to change throughout the episode or who we're going to learn more about. Here that character is the previous champion who Ben and Kevin beat together. And after his defeat, this guy is a total Chad. He devotes his life to Ben because Ben spares him, and he proves that he's serious too when he forces Ben to take the last escape pod back to Earth, staying behind to fight Kevin. Since he never comes back in the series, I can't help but think that Kevin did him in too. This is also part of what made Ben more likable to me, because he doesn't willingly leave the champion behind. Nah, he genuinely tries to get him to leave on the escape pod instead, telling him that he's giving him his life back. It's one of Ben's coolest moments, and I found myself thinking, wow, I'm starting to really like this guy. He's grown a lot from the brat he was in the first half of season 1, and I'm really excited to see him become better from here. Unfortunately, the next episode isn't anywhere near as strong as this one. That isn't to say it's terrible or anything, but well, this time an alien superhero squad known as the Galactic Enforcers appear, and they enlist Ben's assistance to take care of this returning bounty hunter threat. Ben has a few things going on this time. First, he's being a dick to Gwen and Grandpa, viewing himself as the only real superhero of the bunch.
He is the real superhero, bro. They need to step off his throne. I'm joking. Joking, bro.
And allowing himself to be treated as such. Second, where the Galactic Enforcers are super rule-oriented to the point that they're sometimes ineffectual,
I wasn't
Ben is
joking.
all about bending the rules to get things done. Third, this brain hero really hates Ben. Of course, the first point ends with Ben coming to the realization that Gwen and Grandpa are heroes too, and he works alongside them and all that.
Well, Max
Who
is a
couldn't
hero.
have seen
Gwen's
that
not
coming?
really a...
Yeah, that's my main issue with
In
it.
the
You
reboot,
can see
she
this
is, though.
coming from a mile away. It's such an obvious thing for him to learn. Plus, it feels unnecessary. I mean, in this season's first episode, wasn't he excited to be a hero like Grandpa? I guess he could have built up this complex over time, but I didn't notice any buildup like that. This is being treated like it's always been an issue for him when, even if it maybe has been, I thought he'd moved past it. Basically, this episode has regressed Ben's development, all for the purpose of him eventually returning to the status quo. Because of that, the show is simply spinning its wheels. The rule-oriented part of this has a similarly predictable follow-up. Ben teaches the Galactic Enforcers to let loose a bit more. I guess the most likely lesson from this would have been that Ben learns the importance of rules, but having them learn to improvise more and act faster was also pretty predictable. Perhaps predictable wouldn't bother me as much if I cared more about these characters learning something, but I really don't. I just met them.
Yeah, we don't... The next time we see them, they're dead.
I have no point of reference for why they act the way they do. Speaking of the way they act, though, the thing with the brain guy goes nowhere. And that's weird because it gets a good deal of focus this episode. Multiple times, Brain Guy does everything to show he's going to be a problem for Ben,
Yeah,
other
we
than
thought
turning
he
to
was
the
gonna be a
camera and
villain.
saying, Ben and I are going to have problems later. So, it felt a bit anticlimactic when nothing happened. This is another one of those episodes that would have greatly benefited from reallocating some time. I mean, just shave some off of these lengthy fights and use it for character development instead. That way the
Elemental
fights will hit
X.
harder. I could keep going, but at the end of the day, this one was just really boring.
You know what? If you really think about it, the plot, I don't. The only thing I have a problem with that episode, I think, is the plot. Elemental X. Like, why would you try to blow up the entire unit? Aren't you holding?
Which, unfortunately, is also the case
Like,
for
what
the
are you
next
doing,
episode.
bro?
Here, the gang finds themselves trapped in a camp infested
It's
with
like 6 is 7788. They
these
kind of
mushroom-looking
brain
aliens.
dead, bro.
It takes a lot of obvious cues from horror movies and slasher films, which could be a fun way to spice things up, but it didn't really work for me.
I
Let's
like
start
this
with the
episode.
positives. The
I
best
like
part of this
this.
episode is easily the introduction of Wildvine. He's a really cool alien, and I like the way they use his powers here. It's nice to know that, regardless of whatever else is going on, the watch isn't going to stagnate. Other than that, I guess it tries to have a message about sharing, with Ben and Gwen arguing about having their birthday on the same day. But this is another one of those arcs that's just so incredibly meh. They start off fighting, they work together more as things progress, they come to an agreement by the end. And I really don't care about this. Back in season 1, when Ben started having more conflicts based on him navigating through genuinely difficult scenarios, I was hoping that we would stay with those sorts of conflicts and not regress back to here. And regress really is the key word, because I thought Ben and Gwen's relationship had grown past this, and you might argue that, well, you know, kids, realistically, they might need to learn the same thing multiple times or have better days and worse days, but I don't really care about how realistic it is. I care about watching a show that doesn't just spin its wheels and tread water. I would maybe feel a bit differently about this sort of thing
I don't
if they
agree.
didn't spend so much time focusing on the lesson.
I don't agree with this. I don't agree with them.
But it is such a central component of this that it takes away from the other
You're probably thinking, can you explain? Yeah, let's rewatch this episode together, guys. See what's up.
potentially better parts of the episode, and it becomes
They
the
only
only thing that stands out in my mind. But the complaining isn't over yet, folks, because next up, we have another episode I dislike. Woo, let's keep the streak going. This time, Grandpa learns that one of the most powerful weapons of destruction ever
Bro, this
created has been
episode
found,
was so
he
good.
goes into full serious plumber mode. The main conflict here springs from Grandpa
I
getting
love this
hyper-focused
episode.
on finding the weapon,
Don't
to the
care.
point where he gets snippy with Ben and Gwen. Obviously, by the end, he realizes that he shouldn't have acted that way, and all is well. So this is yet another conflict that's all about moving back to the status quo, instead of building from the status quo and creating a new one. Maybe I'd feel differently if this obsessive part of Grandpa's personality had been built up more in previous episodes, but we've never seen him like this before. It just pops up for
Yeah, you do make a fair point there. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't act like this when the giant tick showed up on the planet, because that was kind of a world. That was the planet level destruction there.
this one,
He didn't-
never to be seen again.
It was like,
Plus,
oh, we're all gonna die. That was Grandpa's next. I don't know. He looked like he gave up in that
extreme here
episode.
that I don't believe he would act like this. I mean, when Ben almost dies and Grandpa responds with,
Almost lost the mask.
I call BS. Grandpa isn't gonna say that crap, no matter how obsessed he gets. If anything, a moment like this would have been what snapped Grandpa out of it. And that's really all I've got to say about that one. Next up, though, we've got a new villain, so maybe they'll bring the spice we need to kick this season up a notch. But no, not
It's very weird. He didn't talk about the fight scene or the part where Ben falls out. I don't know.
for me at least. Here we're introduced to Hex's niece, Charmcaster.
This is a
Right
very
away,
good
she breaks
episode.
Hex out of prison, and now he's out for revenge against Lucky Girl. So this one is going to be another Gwen-focused episode. At this point, Ben is a little done with being
And
a
I believe
hero.
the last
He just wants a day for
one.
himself. Gwen, meanwhile, laments her loss of her Lucky Girl powers. So we see that Ben isn't fully appreciating what he has, even if it's easy to understand why he might feel this way. At the same time, Gwen has her own understandable hangups. But Gwen quickly finds a new magic keystone and regains her powers.
No, till this day, I don't understand why she doesn't keep it. I don't know. Big L.
If anything, she's stronger now. However, then they fight Hex and Charmcaster, and what's important here is that Charmcaster and Hex's relationship, it isn't good to say the least. In fact, Hex is absolutely terrible to her. Of course, that means that Charmcaster has a decision to make. Will she reject her uncle?
You know what? I will say this. In Omniverse, I do like how he goes onto the good side. I will say that. Because
Keep up her relationship with
nice.
him or choose a different path. At first,
He
it seems like
changed.
she's going to join Gwen, but that's not the case. Instead, she's
You know what? I think because the only villains that go through a character development is Kevin, Charmcaster, Hex, and that's about it. Vilgax, you know, he does the same thing.
steals her keystone, gives it to her uncle, then betrays him so she could take the power for herself. Now, if Charmcaster was a character who I cared about, this could be great. I'd be hoping that she'll make the right choice, that she'll be better, only to find that she makes a terrible mistake. It would be emotionally damaging for me, and that's what I want from my media. But the problem is that I really don't care one way or the other. This is the problem with this 20-minute episodic format and the show being so comfortable with filling episodes with fight after fight. There's very little room for anything more than the most basic of character building. If you care about this sort of thing, then all the power to you, but it doesn't do it for me. Speaking of which, this is probably a good time to explain what I'm looking for from this show.
Another ad. Another ad.
Lessons or character building or massive changes or any of that stuff. What I need is to have fun. That fun can come from any of those previous things I've enjoyed from the show, or it can come from creative scenarios, or really engaging one-off characters, or humor,
What
or
are you
exceptional
talking about?
animation, or music, or other elements.
The camp beer wasn't good enough for you? What? I love camp.
Of presentation. This show doesn't need to fit into some neat little box for me to enjoy it. I don't have a checklist I'm going through. But these last few episodes I've mentioned, they go for lessons, but those lessons are basic. They make characters less likable just so they can go back to normal.
No, listen, I think season 2 of Ben 10 is trying to open up the world, you know, make sure that Ben's not the only hero, and there's other aliens out there in the galaxy. For example, Kevin Levin and Ben in the arena. I mean, come on. The giant tick, I think it's just trying to world build in season 2, and I'm gonna say this, dude. There's no, as a Ben 10 fan, there's no bad episodes in season 2, but one, and that's the underwater
Again,
one.
20 minutes
So.
later. They aren't consistently creative with their conflicts or the way they use these aliens. They don't have anything to keep me engaged. It's also flat. And the same can be said for the next episode where Ben and the gang go to this underground resort. The arc here is that this older dude and this kid grow closer
Yeah,
together.
this is
but
the
older
this
guy's
is
a
the
jerk,
bad
and this
episode.
kid is incredibly basic. Again,
This
I
episode.
just do not care, so I won't bore you
Yeah,
by
this-
repeating the same complaints. However, I will talk about Season 2's 11th episode,
Yes, this
which gives
eps-
me exactly what I'm looking for. Here, the gang takes
This
a trip
episode
to
was
a fancy
insane.
school where Gwen wants to study. Unfortunately, it's super hard to be accepted in, so Gwen demands that Ben be on his best behavior. But something is wrong. Ben is acting up, but not in his usual silly way. No, the watch is doing weird things, and Ben doesn't seem to have complete control over himself. Of course, what's actually happening is that Ghost Freak is trying to break free from the watch, and he wants to possess Ben's body. This is such a great idea. The concept that one of these creatures is sentient and evil signed me up. It's something I hadn't thought of until it came up, but now that we've gone there, it feels like it would have been strange not to have something like this happen. It helps that the show does a good job of making Ghost Freak pretty creepy too. I mean, in the Zombozo episode from season 1, Ben already scared the crap out of him using Ghost Freak, and something was off there. Something about Ghost Freak was different. Now we have the scene where the tree transforms, Ben's own shadow morphing, others getting possessed, and in particular, Ghost Freak threatening to kill Gwen.
Yeah,
if Ben
that
doesn't
was
offer up his
insane.
body? Oh, baby, that's the type of stuff I want. We're taking this fun concept and we're really pushing it far, moving quickly, and it's just loads of fun. And this isn't some episode where I learn loads about Ben, Gwen, or Grandpa. It doesn't need to be. The writers simply make it interesting to watch this conflict unfold with an extreme villain, a creative concept, and some memorable visuals. Additionally, the characters haven't regressed to pull out some conflict. At the end of the day, that's really all I need from this show. On paper, the next episode also has a pretty neat concept. See, Ben has been messing around with the watch, and eventually he manages to bust it.
Yep.
However, it doesn't just stop
I don't know
working.
how he does
Now, some
that.
of these aliens have combined together. Much like with the last episode, this
The
is one
worst
of those concepts
fusion.
that feels so natural to use, so I'm happy we're going here. At the end of the day, I want to finish this series and go, wow, I really can't think of another thing they could have reasonably done with the Omnitrix. Either way, though, Animo eventually steals a piece of the Omnitrix, and now he can use Alien's abilities to strengthen his creations. So that's another cool way of using the Omnitrix right there, too. This episode also probably has the first instance of Ben and Gwen banter that made me laugh, with Ben complaining that Gwen is probably thinking that she told him so about messing with the watch. However, when she just keeps saying, "I never said that," he turns to Grandpa and cries, "Grandpa, Gwen won't say I told you so." It might not sound like much, but compared to them yelling dweeb back and forth, yeah, this is a big upgrade. However, this episode doesn't have the benefit of a villain I care about, because Animo, I don't know, he's just so bland to me. By now, I would hope we'd know more about him, but not really.
Oh.
Additionally, this episode...
How dare you say that about about him? He's not supposed to be bland until we get to Ultimate Alien, which is actually funny. He becomes a joking villain in Ultimate Alien. That's where it starts. So sad. I
has
feel
some
bad.
wonky pacing with an insanely long fight scene toward the end that
You know,
probably could have been...
I just don't understand. We get two of the coolest fusions. We get Stinkfly forearms, which is awesome. We get Gray Diamond. And then we get Heat Ripjaws. Bro, why? We could have got like Y-Mud Accelerate, like Upgrade Accelerate, like I don't know, another fusion besides
cut in half. My biggest issue
Rip
comes
Heat
here,
or
though,
I
when
don't
Grandpa pushes Ben out of the way of Animo's laser blast
Oh
and gets
god. No.
transformed into a slug.
Why?
Ben and Gwen's reaction to this is really, really tame. I get that we as the audience know Grandpa's gonna make it, but the kids, this should be huge, especially for Ben. If Ben hadn't messed with the watch, this never would have happened, and now Grandpa
No, this is her mindset. Is that my grandpa, bro?
sacrificed
Is this
himself.
real?
I would expect Ben to absolutely lose it here.
Bro, this is not even a fusion. This is just Ripjaws on fire.
And would definitely make for a more interesting scene. Basically, this is such an obvious opportunity to see a different side of Ben, but instead, it's more or less the same old kid, with just a pinch more introspection toward the end of the episode.
Bro, what if
Fortunately,
he
the
would've
season
melted
finale
that?
is a lot more engaging.
Oh, the season finale, bro. The best.
Here, Kevin and Vilgax team up to take down Ben. It's such a basic thing, but seeing the series' two main antagonists join forces is inherently fun, especially when you've got Kevin in the mix being such a child about everything. As for Ben, well, he's learned how to transform into aliens at will and instantly morph between them. Unfortunately though, he's starting to get even more cocky about the watch, and he's pretty dickish about how he's the only real hero here and all that stuff, which we've already gone over before, but, well, I'll try to keep an open mind. Beyond that though, he's not really interested in being human anymore, and would rather keep being alien all the time. However, when Ben gets sucked into the null void with Kevin and Vilgax, the Omnitrix is ripped off his arm. At the same time, Gwen goes in to rescue him. So here, both of Ben's big issues in this episode, and really issues that have popped up a few times now, are coming to the forefront. How's he going to find self-worth if he loses the Omnitrix? And how is he going to react when someone he was insulting is the only reason he makes it out of here? These are the questions I want to see answered. Well, Ben and Gwen eventually escape, but not before they have to toss away the Omnitrix to trick Vilgax and Kevin. But then there's the reveal. Gwen didn't act...
I always ask myself, when they pin Ben down and Gwen goes flying because Kevin threw her, is that why doesn't as Ben's getting his, at during the moment of, Vilgax is on his arm. Why doesn't Ben transform? Because he has master control. I'm kind of curious. Does Ben have to like transform into an alien, and then the master control is then he can alien jump, or can he just not touch the armor tricks at all and just alien jump? I'm very curious. I don't
She
know.
tossed the Omnitrix. She
It actually the only alien that could save him would be Ghost Freak, but we lost him.
threw something else that looked like it, kept the real thing, and now Ben gets it back. This is a pretty sweet moment between them, too, with Ben apologizing for how he was acting and Gwen clearly excited to give Ben this power back. It feels like Ben has been changed by this interaction and that he's gained a newfound respect for his cousin, and that maybe he won't take this watch for granted anymore. Sure, we've seen moments like this before, but if this is the end of it, this is a pretty good way to cap this off. Overall, Season 2 of Ben 10 was okay. Much like Season 1, it was a mixed bag with some great episodes and some mediocre, boring ones. I definitely appreciated some of these one-off conflicts more, like the Ghost Freak episode for example, and it never got as bad as Season 1's worst episode. Not even close. But Season 1 had more of an arc for Ben across episodes that I was able to appreciate, while here the character development was a little more spotty and inconsistent. Overall, this honestly wasn't the improvement I was hoping to see, even if there were still things I enjoyed about it. But that's not to say I'm done with the show or anything. I still see loads of potential here, and I have high hopes for what Season 3 is going to bring to the table. So we'll talk about that next time. Of course, if you enjoyed this one and
I did enjoy the episode. I'm just very upset he didn't talk about none of the fighting scenes, basically. I'm very upset. I want to know what his opinion were. Alright, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you basically in the next one. I'm glad he didn't really say much besides the complaining part. One, Ben, they haven't learned nothing. Alright, guys, that's about it. Hope you guys have a nice day, and see you in the next one.